Am I being threatened by the local sheriff? I received this very brief letter from Keith Sexton of the Washington County Sheriff's Office, and I'll read it in just a moment, but I received this letter, and so did two friends of mine, after we filed complaints at the sheriff's office for how their deputies handled us and our dissent at a recent legislative event in Jonesboro, Tennessee. And you can go check out the video for yourself. I posted it on TikTok and on YouTube to show what happened. But we were the only ones that were targeted and intimidated and removed and threatened with arrest for disorderly conduct simply for laughing. So this letter from Keith says, "Dear Sir or Madam, I am in receipt of your complaint, and as an eyewitness to the events opined about in your statement, I find your complaint to be unfounded. For your benefit, I would suggest you familiarize yourself with Tennessee Code Annotated 39-17-305 and the statute of limitations regarding this law." Now, when me and several others first received this letter, we were kind of confused. We assumed it was just kind of like some generic response that they send out that he just signs afterwards, because I didn't really know what he was talking about with the statute of limitations. But then we quickly realized that what he was referring to was the fact that he can technically arrest us for disorderly conduct for what we were doing at this event for up to a year after the event took place. Even when they read the disorderly conduct law, it did not apply to what we were doing, because in order for it to qualify as disorderly conduct, you have to prevent lawful activity from taking place. And we prevented nothing. The speakers never stopped speaking. They never paused at one time. The event was not interrupted from our snickering, as the deputy put it. So even by their own admission, we didn't break this law. But they are doubling down, and they're saying that, you know, we violated this statute of disorderly conduct, and threatening us with arrest for this, by letting us know that they've got a year to send us a summons. And so I think that this is interesting. I don't want to call it funny, because it's really not funny. It's really not. I think it's easy for me to say it's funny because I'm privileged and they're not going to arrest me for it. And they know that they can't arrest me for it, and that if they did arrest me for it, the case would fall flat in front of their faces and they'd be embarrassed. But what they'd rather do is scare me and my friends into not taking actions of dissent in the future, because, oh no, they might come after us. They might come after us and arrest us for something that they've already decided they're not going to arrest us for. These intimidation tactics, they work. They work on people. They ain't gonna work on me. I'm not scared. Arrest me. I mean, if I broke the law, then isn't your job to arrest me? But see, you didn't arrest me because I didn't break a law. And in fact, the deputy and Keith both violated our First Amendment rights by removing us from a government event, a public government event in a taxpayer-funded building, for disagreeing. That's what they said. It was for disagreeing, laughing and snickering, and not clapping in agreement. Because apparently in the fascist state of Tennessee, and really the fascist nation of America, you can only clap and cheer for your dear leader. You can only praise and approve of those in the Republican Party and what they're saying, even when they're calling for violence against women who get abortions, which they did in that meeting.
Thirdly, if you kill a baby from embryo on up with a pill or with a scalpel, we ought to execute you.
Even when their policies are harming us, we can only praise them, or we must be quiet. Our snickering, as he called it, was enough to send them over the edge. And you could see the deputy was like shaking. His ears were red. He was either very embarrassed or very angry at us. And it was all over dissent. If we can't show up to these events and snicker about the terrible, horrible things that they are saying, that's something to be concerned about, guys. That's really a problem. And this isn't new. It's new for me because I just started being a lot more vocal in my dissent. I started being a lot more bold in my actions. And the reason that people aren't bold, the reason that people don't stand up, they don't speak out, is because they're afraid of this very kind of intimidation. And I'm sure they saw my video. They didn't like the things I was saying about them, and that's perfectly fine. I still have some remaining semblance of First Amendment. And they think that they're powerful. They think that they have the authority to do whatever they want, whenever they want, but they don't. They're scared little boys. And I want to take just a moment to talk about Keith, because he was at this event. And he says in this letter he was an eyewitness to the events, and I have to say that he was an eyewitness in the very beginning. He was standing there because he was an attendee at God, Guns, and Guts. He wasn't there working. But he was there for a few minutes before he went outside, and you can see in the video that I posted when they were very comically trying to cover up the truth in the windows, that other protesters were outside they were putting their signs against the windows, and those inside the event were trying to cover it up with their own propaganda. He went outside and talked to that group, and that was a group that I was with. They were putting on their own demonstration, a silent vigil of sorts, with they were carrying around sandwich boards that had facts about Tennessee, about violence in Tennessee, gun deaths, children's health, and they were putting these facts against the window, and it pissed him off so much that he went outside to have a little chat with them. He went outside and he told several lies, and I addressed this in an email to him before I got this letter, but he never responded to it. And the first lie that he told was that they were being disorderly and that he could arrest them for disorderly conduct.
Okay, you can't do that. It's Tennessee. Pick up your conduct. I'm not your enemy. I don't want to be against you, but I am the sheriff of the county, and I will enforce the law. And I don't make me enforce the law, please. For something that doesn't have to happen.
Again, he doesn't know the law, because according to the statute, you have to prevent lawful activity. That's part of the statute. It can't be that you're just annoying or you're bothering people. It has to be that you prevent lawful activity from taking place. Putting signs against a window quietly is not preventing anybody from doing anything. That's not disorderly conduct. It is quite literally the definition of peaceful protest. And he called it disorderly. So he weaponized the law against them and lied to them about what the law was and what he could do with it. Then he told them that it was a private event. And I believe that he said this so that he could get away with calling it disorderly, get away with threatening the arrest, because there's a very big difference between a private event and a public event with elected representatives. The third thing that he lied about was he told them that what they were doing was harming their cause, and it was violating the rights of those who were attending the event.
But it's not. You're violating the rights of the other people.
Nothing about putting a sign against a window violates anybody's rights whatsoever. At this point in America, we all have to be standing up. We all have to be speaking out against the injustice that's happening all around us. In the federal government and our state government, and here in Tennessee and in many other red states, there is a serious overhaul of our entire system that is not to benefit the American people, but to benefit corporate America, to benefit the top 1%. They're not giving us affordable housing. They're not giving us affordable groceries. They're not making sure that we are well and that we can pursue happiness. They're taking everything from us. And if the most that they have to deal with is that a small group of people comes into the back of a room and laughs a few times at the absolute absurdities that they're saying, then they've got it pretty good. Because unlike the reactionary terrorists on the other side, we don't grab weapons and storm capitals. We're a little more creative than that. And so anyone who had a problem with me showing up and laughing a little bit during this event, I would love to know what their opinion is on the fact that we have 1,600 January 6th traitors that violently stormed the Capitol, attacked police officers, and planned to kill the vice president and members of Congress, that they were all released into the streets, sent out into the streets. One of them lives near where I live. So that's pretty scary. And I'm just seeing such a contrast in the way the right wing is treated when they are hateful, when they break the law, when they dissent, versus how we are treated when we find creative, peaceful ways to dissent. We were entirely peaceful, both inside and outside, and those outside didn't even make a sound. And now they're sending us a threatening letter basically, from what I take from it, and I can't take anything else, I have to just assume, because he won't write me back, he won't email me back. I have to assume that this letter is telling us that we better watch our backs, that we better be careful, we better not show up to any of these events and exercise our First Amendment right again, because they can arrest us. That is not freedom. That is not the America that I thought that I lived in. And again, this isn't new. This is just new to me because I'm not a person that has ever been in legal trouble. I've been pulled over twice in my entire life, and both times I cried. I need more people to wake up and see that this is happening. Because again, I'm fine. I'm privileged. Sure, send me a summons. Okay, let's go to court. I'm not too worried about it. But there's a lot of people who want to stand up, who want to speak out, but they can't risk getting arrested simply because they spoke up. They can't risk the legal trouble that might follow if a cop on a bad day decides he doesn't like what you're doing, which is exactly what they did that day. And again, he admitted it's because they agreed and we didn't. Okay, so then can you answer the question?
What's that?
What is the difference between me laughing and them clapping?
Because it was causing a disturbance.
Why wasn't their clapping causing a disturbance?
Because they were clapping at something that they agreed with.
Our resistance will not come just through holding signs on a street corner. As great as that is, and as much as we need protest, our resistance is going to come by breaking down the pillars, by confronting this head on, by being bold and loud and disruptive when needed. Sometimes you have to be disruptive, especially when what you're disrupting is harm, when what you're disrupting is violence, when the calm voice of reason is standing up and getting loud and responding in a very bold, loud way. It shows everyone else that this is serious, that this is really serious. And so I'm unconcerned about what people think of me. What I want them to know is that what I'm seeing isn't normal and I'm reacting to it. And I'm asking everyone else to react appropriately to what's happening. Show everyone else in your life that this is not normal. Do not let their intimidation tactics work. Get loud, get bold, know the law, study it, understand what you're doing. I feel like I have learned so much about the government, so much about the Constitution, about my rights as a human being, as an American in the last 8 months, because I've had to. Because I know that I have to resist and I have to fight, and I have to work within the law to do it. But Martin Luther King Jr. told us that we have a responsibility to obey just laws, and I agree with that. But that we also have a responsibility to disobey unjust laws and disobey authority when it is abusing its power to uphold the power, uphold those that are trying to harm us, rather than actually helping the communities and keeping them safe. And so, I'm going to be working really hard to make sure Diana Harshbarger doesn't get her seat, and Keith Sexton's going to be on that list too. And I'll do whatever I can to campaign for whoever runs against him in the next election, because he doesn't know the law. He's a lying little liar, and he uses his badge and his position to intimidate and exercise authority over those that he just doesn't like. And he admitted to the crowd outside that he was there as an attendee. He was there because he loves God and guns. But God said, don't be a lying little liar, and he did that. So I'm willing to bet that it's much more of an image thing than it is an actual practice of faith. Because a man of faith doesn't try to use the law to intimidate dissent against people that are exercising their First Amendment right. And I need everybody to start exercising their First Amendment right, please. It's time. It's past time. Use your rights while you have them. The more you exercise them, the more likely you are to keep them. The less you exercise them, the more likely you are to lose them. And if they want to come after me, if they want to come put some cuffs on me, take me. I dare you. But until then, I'm going to keep speaking up, and I'm not going to let a little piece of paper scare me from exercising my rights. And I hope that if you find yourself in this situation, that this might inspire and encourage you not to let other people, even with a badge, even with a position of power and authority, don't let them intimidate you. Don't let them scare you. At the end of the day, you're both human beings. You were both born here without consent, and you just took different paths in life. But it doesn't mean that they get to exercise their power over you just because they can. Remember that. And keep resisting and persisting.